Please note that the information on Retire Vivid referenced in this video is accurate as of September 20th, 2024. Changes to laws and regulations may make portions of this segment outdated and no longer relevant. The information presented is for educational purposes only and is not intended to provide investment, tax, or legal advice. Please see our full disclosure at the end of this video.
Welcome to Retire Vivid. I'm Karen McCarty. That's Tommy Breitbach, and today's episode is on your 401k. The question is how do you retire your 401k? Because, when you think about it, Tommy, we've been feeding these things for years and years and years, and now you're getting to a point you're retired. Now what do you do with it?
Right. I mean, hopefully you've been saving with an objective in mind, and typically that objective is retirement. It's exciting, but there are a lot of decisions to make.
There really is. I mean, because, if you think about it, in terms of what we see out there, the 401k or the traditional IRAs and people's homes, those are usually people's biggest assets, right? I mean, and so this is your life savings, and you've got some pretty big important decisions to do with that. And so we're going to talk about those options. All the options of what you can do with your 401k. I want to get this first one out of the way, and this is a full cash distribution. Let's just wrap this one up pretty quick.
Yeah, depending on the size of the account, we can't make blanket recommendations and say don't do it, but review your options. It's going to come with some significant tax implications. If that account is big enough, you're going to run into highest marginal income tax rates, potentially, depending on age, tax at your state level. You can have a tax penalty if it's early. I mean, you can run into IRMA, make your Medicare more expensive.
So you're telling me you can blow things up pretty quick. Is that what you're saying?
There's a lot of things you can do.
Okay.
I would say generally this is probably not the best option.
It's probably not the best option. I mean, because as you mentioned, there are tax implications when it comes to these 401ks, because a lot of times what we see is they're in those pre-tax accounts. But it's also important that you read that special tax notice. I mean, we do a lot of 401k rollovers here. I mean, that doesn't mean it makes sense for everybody, and we'll talk about reasons why. But you need to make sure you read that special tax notice, because one of the things is this full cash distribution. So let's just say you had $1 million and you just put it into your checkbook. That's probably not the best thing to do, because to your point, you just went to the highest tax tier.
Yeah, you're going to go through all the federal marginal rates, potentially taxable at the state level. Here in Iowa, 55 and older not, depending outside of state. And then IRMA, if you're on Medicare, IRMA is means tested, where they look back 2 years. So what you do this year will impact IRMA premiums 2 years from now. And that can get very expensive.
It certainly can. So for people that are considering this, please talk to a professional on this, because again, we don't want people getting hurt out there. So again, beware. Okay, so let's go to the next one here. So that's option one. You can leave it, or you can do a full cash distribution. Now, let's just say you leave it in the 401k. And there may be reasons why you should, Tommy. I mean, in terms of leaving it there. But for a lot of these folks, maybe they've had this plan for years, and they're just comfortable with it.
Right, and there's been a lot of changes to these employer-sponsored plans throughout the years and added some additional features. But there is a comfort level if you've been in there 20, 30 years. You've fed it. Hopefully, you've seen it grow. Sometimes it makes sense to stay with what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that too. I mean, there's pros and cons to everything. And so for a comfort level, who am I to argue with that? The next thing is distribution options. I mean, it's very important that you read the plan document for the participants out there that have this 401k, because a lot of people need this as an income supplement as part of their overall retirement plan.
And that's just reviewing what your income options are. Is it lump sum? Is it one time? Is it annually, quarterly, monthly? Just matching up with when you need cash flows coming in and flexibility surrounding distribution.
There may be annuitization options. I mean, there may be, again, every document or every plan is not the same. I mean, different plans do different things, because again, the pension days are basically over. And so for a lot of our clients, they have their Social Security, they have their IRA 401k plan. The question is how do we build a plan with this where if you have a pension, that's another tier of your retirement plan. But again, a lot of people just don't.
Yeah, it's becoming less frequent, especially in the private sector. And so, annuitization may be, or a partial annuitization, figuring out an amount of income that makes sense for you
Right.
can be a benefit.
And you know what, Tommy? The other nice thing about a 401k plan are the fees. They can be very cost effective.
Typically have a fund lined up in there, and there's most of the time an expense ratio associated with those funds. And then there's administrative costs to run the plan. So it's important to review kind of what you're paying within there. If the employer is covering the administration costs and you're just paying expense ratios, but they can be very cost effective.
They can be. I mean, again, now the only downside is it's a limited lineup, right? I mean, the employer picks the funds. This is in terms of the investments, whether it's broad-based asset classes, bond funds, or large cap. There's also popular target series in terms of target date funds that tied to your retirement age, if you would, which makes it kind of nice.
Usually covers your large asset classes. You have U.S. stocks and probably large, mid, and small, and some international options and fixed income options across maybe short-term or intermediate-term, longer-term bonds. Mm-hmm. You typically have a kind of a general lineup around that. You may have a self-directed option that you can access where you can purchase ETF stocks, other funds.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just important to review kind of what your allocations are and what matches with what you want to do with the funds.
Absolutely. And one last one. This is a reason why you need to potentially leave it in the 401k, and that's the rule of 55. Because we have clients that retire prior to age 59 and a half. And so for people that pull money out of a 401k plan prior to 59 and a half, they get penalized 10% plus taxes. You can't get out of taxes, but beware of this, because if you're going to retire and you're not 59 and a half yet, this is a really good reason of why you may want to keep it inside of your plan.
Once the funds are in an IRA, there's more restrictive options to access those funds under 59 and a half. But the rule of 55, the employer you have most recently retired from at the age of 55, you can access those funds without that 10% penalty.
But you got to pay tax.
You're still paying tax, but you can save yourself 10% on the penalty.
You can save 10%. I mean, so folks, there are a lot of things here that you need to think about. When you retire, don't just say, hey, I'm just going to roll to roll. That may not make sense because, again, we don't want people getting hurt out there. So again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I got a lot more to go through with you. Make sure you stay with us right after the break.
Do you have questions about your retirement plan, or do you want to know if you are on the right track? We are here to help. Simply go to retirevivid.com or call the number below to schedule a 15-minute retirement review. You can speak with us about taxes, Social Security, your 401k, or any quick retirement questions at no cost to you. We are here to make retirement vivid. Schedule your 15-minute retirement review today.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, we're talking about all the things you can do within a 401k plan. And we just talked about a full cash distribution, option one. We talked about leaving it inside of the 401k plan. But I want to stay on that for a second, because one thing that we have not touched on is, well, we did talk about the Rule 55, reasons of why you would want to keep it inside of the 401k plan to avoid that 10% penalty. But what if you're still working, Tommy? There's this rule out there called the still working exception.
This is for the pre-tax asset. So the money you took a deduction on, it's grown, you take out, it's taxable. At ages, so current age 73, you have to take a required minimum distribution. That's a percentage of the account that you have to take out, and it is taxable. The still working exception allows an individual of the 401k they are still employed with, if they're working past RMD age, to delay those RMDs. And that's in your plan documents if they allow it, but I would say quite a few of them do.
Real quick here, so this is for people that are still working, that are of age in terms of the required minimum distribution, now not all plans allow this though. I mean, that's why it's so important to look at each planning document, where if you're still working, that doesn't mean you have to take an RMD, but be careful if you decide to roll that thing out.
Right, because the RMD does not have the same exception.
It does not.
The IRA, you still have to access the RMD from an IRA regardless if you're still working.
You're darn right. You're darn right. So folks, for those of you that are over RMD age and you're still working, make sure you talk to somebody who knows what they're doing in terms of what you do with your money. Okay, next let's talk about loans. So let's say you have a loan on a 401k. Let's touch on that.
Yeah, so IRAs do not typically offer a loan option, but 401ks allow you to take a loan out of it if the plan allows it.
Sure.
If there's an outstanding balance on that and you do roll to an IRA, essentially close out that loan, the amount of that loan, the outstanding portion, becomes taxable to you in the year you complete the rollover.
Once again, I mean, it's just being aware of your options there. Okay, so that takes care of that. Let's move on to the next one. Let's say you decide you want to roll it over to a traditional IRA, and that may make sense for you also.
Now first, if you've decided to do, the first thing is to match up tax type. So
that would be a good way.
You have your
that'd be good.
Your pre-tax or traditional 401k. You may have an after-tax or Roth 401k. Yeah. If you are rolling to an IRA, make sure that pre-tax goes to a traditional IRA. Roth after-tax portion goes to a Roth IRA.
So apples and apples, oranges and oranges. And of course, it's also important to make sure that rollover goes directly to the institution. You do not want to take possession of these funds. So for example, if you do a rollover, you'll make the check payable to the institution, FBO, for the benefit of the participant or of course yourself. But so Tommy, why would somebody do this? I mean, in terms of a rollover, one of the reasons is control. Is control of that asset.
Yeah, control and expanded investment opportunity. So
sure.
You can decide kind of what you're invested in. Are there ETFs, individual stocks? Do you want to own individual bonds? You have annuity options. You have a bunch of options outside of the your stated 401k lineup available to you that you typically can't access through the 401k.
Really, if you kind of think about it, there's just a full wide spectrum of what you can invest in where. Again, I mean, we talked about leaving it inside of the 401k. The 401k plans, they offer you that limited fund lineup where literally you can go anywhere you want here. Like you mentioned, ETFs, exchange traded funds, mutual funds, you name it. The other thing too is flexibility. I mean, in terms of the IRA, there's a lot of control, flexibility, especially if you need the money. Because again, a lot of our people, they're retired or close to retirement, and they are probably going to be living on this for most people that we work with. But the other question is how often, in terms of the frequency that you can access your funds.
Is that a monthly distribution? Again, going back to previous segment, review the plan documents, see if there's any restrictions on the number or frequency you can access the money. An IRA does not have those same implications.
Now keep in mind too, just because you do a rollover, you don't have to roll it to a financial advisor. You could do it yourself also. And so, for example, we are on the institutional side. And if you want to do it yourself, you're going to be on the retail side. And again, if you want to do it yourself, who am I to fight, right?
You can, in theory, roll to an institution, buy the same fund lineup or a less expensive share class options, kind of go across that, maintain full control, and eliminate if there's any sort of TPA costs or anything associated with that plan.
Right, third-party administration costs, right? I mean, yeah, it could be extremely cost-effective, especially if you work with a an institution that has no commissions on trades. So, which kind of leads me to my next point, fees, right? So now we just talked about this. So if you have a 401k plan, those fees can be very cost effective. Now, if you're going to hire a financial advisor, I mean, they could potentially be more than what you're paying today.
I would say it would be evaluating, cost and benefits. It's most likely it's going to be more expensive to work with an advisor. So it's very important to determine what you're getting back from that,
right.
The cost and the relationship you have.
If you're going to be paying somebody, right, what are you going to get in return for it? Which makes total sense, right? So for example, I mean, are we a wealth management company? Yes. Do we manage people's hard-earned money here? Absolutely we do. Do we charge a fee? Yes, we do. I mean, but here's the thing though, we're fee-based in what we're doing here with clients, and we have that fiduciary responsibility to our clients. And so, but it's not just managing the money. The problem I have here is this. I mean, how can I know how to manage somebody's money if I don't even know what their overall retirement plan looks like? Or when are you going to take Social Security? What's health insurance look like? I mean, what's your income needs during retirement? Money is a means to get us somewhere. Is it important? Sure it is. But it's a means to get us somewhere. So we don't talk investing until I know what you're trying to accomplish with your money.
Retirement is a decision, but it requires a lot of steps to get there.
Right.
You've saved, you've accumulated, you've thought about it. And then when you retire, you have to decide all those things you mentioned. When do you take Social Security? What's my income look like? If I'm pre-Medicare, what are my health insurance options? What does my estate plan look like down the road? All those pieces come together within a financial plan. So it's important to evaluate kind of what you're getting back out of that relationship.
Right, and not only that, what about taxes, right? A lot of our people, they don't mind paying taxes. They just don't want to pay any more than they have to. Because again, if you think about it, and we're going to talk about this next, it's a big one. But when it comes to the taxation of all these pieces, if you would, but it really should be the core of your planning, and that's what we do here as well too. I'm a huge advocate, and you are too, of Roth conversions. Now again, we were just talking about the 401k. Not all 401k plans offer an in-plan Roth conversion where you can take it to a traditional IRA and then do a Roth conversion. The question is, how much do you do? That's where tax planning comes in.
The money you pay in taxes to do a Roth conversion or to take that money out is a drag on the account. And so it's very important to evaluate where you're at, where you're going to be. We briefly talked about RMDs, but if you're not using it, you will have to take some at some point. So it's important to review all those pieces and determine when taxes are on sale for you.
That's pretty good. Nice little plug there. Okay, so now another thing, I'm not going to get too deep into this. There's the 72T options as well too. So for people that did roll their 401k out, and they go, oops, I should have left it there because they wanted to avoid that 10% penalty, but now they are in that penalty phase, you can do a 72T. I don't think we spend a lot of time on that. But the big thing of all of this is we're talking about a lot here. I mean, this is why we offer that 15-minute retirement review. I mean, this is where people have the opportunity to give us a call and ask us those questions, whether it's about retirement, their Social Security, their 401k. What do we do with all of this? I mean, that's what we are to everybody here. We are a resource.
Right, and this show we kind of paint with a broad brush. We cover a lot of topics, but if there's something specific to you, a lot of times that can be answered in that call.
It certainly can be. And so we encourage all of you to take advantage of that. Next, we're going to talk about taxes and more. Stay with us right after the break. I'm Cameron McCarty, talk show host, financial advisor, and business owner.
Did you know Cameron is happily married, raising 4 kids, thinks he's a news anchor?
I don't know about that one.
But did you also know he helps people get retirement ready? He can help you too.
That's why I'm coming to you on the weekends, getting you answers to your retirement questions.
Don't miss him on Retire Vivid, every weekend on ABC.
Okay, we're going to wrap everything up with a bow, and this is going to be on taxes, especially when it comes to 401k plans. I mean, we just talked about all these different options you have. There's still a couple more we need to hit on. But Tommy, I mean, if you think about it, with a lot of our clients, you know, they were all taught to feed these 401k plans and put it inside of these pre-tax funds, right? Because you get a tax deduction going in, right? And then later in life, you're supposed to drop. So let's say you're in the 22% tax bracket because you're working. So feed those 401ks, get that tax deduction, then you retire and you drop in terms of a tax tier. True for a lot of people, but what if you were a good saver? You may head up in those higher tax tiers, and that's what we see quite a bit.
It gets down to, you know, your retirement income. Most people are going to have Social Security. If a pension is available, great. And then what dollar amount are you going to be using out of your 401k? And in this case, we're talking specifically the pre-tax portion, because that's the amount you will be subject to RMDs. But you've taken a deduction, it's grown for as long as you've been in the plan, and then it's 100% reportable when it comes out from that pre-tax portion.
So we are huge advocates of the Roth IRA. But now when I'm talking about the Roth, it's not just the contributions, I'm talking about conversions, right? This is where you take money from from an IRA, a traditional IRA, you pay the tax and you put it into the Roth. But the question is how much do you do? And so that's where tax planning comes in. You should not be taking, for goodness sake, your whole 401k and put it into a Roth. That's a huge tax bill. What we do is we bracket bump. Why, so if you're in the 12%, why not just fill that bucket up, whether it's 10,000, 15,000, and you do a Roth? I mean, it could be a big deal for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's important to figure out where you're at, where you're going. Is there a window in there when taxes are on sale for you? Because we do have those required minimum distributions. There's been several changes to them, but prior to 2020, it was 70.5. And 2020, they moved it to 72. For 2023, they moved it to 73. Going out to 2033, they're moving it to 75, but it's expanded that window from that 70.5 to now 73, typically between, when you retire and then going out to from an extra 2.5 years in there of the tax planning opportunity. But it's, it gets into the level of income you're using from that traditional account. Your first RMD is going to be a little under 4%. And then that percentage grows each year. So as you get, 80, it's close to 5%. At 90, it's close to 9%. So you have that increasing percentage. If that account's still growing, you're going to be forced to take, an increasing,
even more,
an increasing dollar amount each year that you may or not be using.
Absolutely, and that's why it's so important to be forward thinking when it comes to your taxes. You kept, this is the second time you said taxes are on sale, and you're not kidding. I mean, let's drive this point home. So there's 3 big reasons why you should consider a Roth, in my opinion. Okay, the first one you just mentioned is the Secure Act. Okay, so what you're talking about is the RMD, the required minimum distribution. The key here is, though, and this is the key, folks, is you cannot convert that required minimum distribution. You can't. It's period. You just can't do that. So we try to catch people prior to that. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Let's touch on that real quick.
That lowered all the federal marginal rates. So it's now 10, 12, 22, 24, and up from there. It's set to go to 10, 15, 25, 28. If nothing is changed, that will be tax year 2026. And through the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, they also doubled the standard deduction.
Yep.
So
That's right.
Most people are out in that $30,000 range as a standard deduction. That's a big benefit. That's a reduction of your income shown.
That's reason number 2. Reason number 3, here in Iowa, we have the House File 2317, or the retirement income exclusion. Huge benefit for Iowans over 55.
Most retirees who are no longer working, no longer have that earned income, potential farm income. But if you're taking Social Security and retirement account distributions, annuity distributions, pensions, just no tax liability associated with those.
And the one thing before I move on is in the past, prior to the Secure Act, if somebody did a Roth conversion, let's say that they did too much and it popped them into a higher tax bracket, they could reclassify it, they could fix it. You can't do that anymore. So if you convert, it's irrevocable.
And that amount is shown as income, so that impacts the taxability of Social Security. It can impact IRMA or your Medicare premiums.
You're darn
It can
right.
impact a lot, so it's important to get it right the first time.
Get it right the first time. Work with somebody that's done this before, right? Okay, so let's talk about one more big thing, Tommy. Let's say that you have a 401k and you work for an employer that has company stock. You got some options there as well.
One of the options to review within those plan documents is if it allows an NUA or net unrealized appreciation. So if you have company stock, not your fund lineup, but company stock, whether that's through the employer match or an allocation option you've selected. Sometimes individuals who have worked there for a number of years, you can have highly appreciated stock within that 401k plan. So what net unrealized appreciation allows you to do is take the full value of the company stock out of the plan into a non-qualified account, so individual joint trust,
Non-IRA.
non-IRA account.
Yep.
You pay tax on the cost basis.
Cost basis
So
only.
how much, at the price they were given to you as a match, or the price you accumulated over all those years, the total of all that is your basis, and then the appreciation, you take the full value out and pay tax on the cost basis, ordinary income tax, and then you can decide if you liquidate it later, if you never liquidate it, but you get a preferential capital gains tax
Long-term capital gain
rate
rates
on
now.
the gain in that non-qualified account.
That's pretty cool.
It can be a great benefit for those who've been there a long time and that stock really has appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. So the big thing is don't just think you should roll everything to an IRA, because I hate to say it, but I've seen it, where somebody rolled the 401k portion and the company stock to a traditional IRA when they probably should have done the net unrealized appreciation.
Yeah, it is a good benefit, and it's very important to, talk to your plan, get the value of that cost basis.
Right.
Figure out what the appreciation is. Does it make, is it tax smart? Does it make sense tax-wise?
Tommy, I love what I do. I mean, this was a lot of fun today.
This was a good show. There's a lot of options to cover. I think we hopefully gave some information on quite a few of those.
There is. And that's the whole purpose. We are here to help you, guide you, give you the tools that you need so you can make an informed decision during your own retirement journey. Thanks again for watching. We'll catch you next time right here on Retire Vivid.
Cameron McCarty and Tommy Breitbach are investment advisor representatives of Vivid Wealth Management, a SEC-registered investment advisor located in Des Moines, Iowa. Investment advisory services are offered through Vivid Wealth Management, LLC. Insurance products and services are offered through Vivid Tax and Wealth Advisors, and individually licensed and appointed agents. Tax planning and preparation services are offered through Vivid Tax Center, LLC. The preceding entities are affiliated. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Case studies and examples presented are hypothetical and used to demonstrate a concept. These studies do not represent actual clients or results. Similar or even positive results cannot be guaranteed. None of the entities above are affiliated or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended to provide investment, tax, or legal advice. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed.
Thanks for watching Retire Vivid. Want to see more? Like and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with exclusive Vivid content. Plus, be sure to watch our show Retire Vivid every weekend. We're here to help you get retirement ready.